Salud, amigos.
Greetings, friends, members of our dear, polluted, and only spacecraft, which, since the last time we met, has turned around its imaginary axis and, of course, continues generating events in pleno desarrollo. If you don't see me standing, it means we have a guest. And today, it's a great guest. We have with us once again Hernando Calvo Ospina. He was born in Cali, Colombia, journalist, writer, documentary director, among other things. He currently is living in France and is the author of several books that have been translated to a dozen of languages. He collaborates with Le Monde Diplomatique. He has works in France, Germany. In 2005, he was appointed for the Lorenzo Natali Journalist Award of the European Commission. This brief introduction shows only a little of what he does. Welcome on board, dear friend. Thank you very much for your invitation. Once again, I feel honored with your presence. And I hope to be the one who talks the least here, because I think we are entitled to squeeze you like a sponge with all your knowledge on the international panorama. So the floor is yours. Thank you. Just a detail now, you just mentioned documentary director, and I want to say it because you are in that documentary I made, Venezuela, Casa Oscura, and you're talking about and you gave me the honor to interview me, because you never give interviews, but I don't understand how in less than 1 year that documentary was translated into 16 languages, including Russian, Japanese, Arab, and the most popular languages, 16 languages. And I have been presented in many countries, and your contribution was quite important in that documentary. Thank you very much. I was honored, and I am very happy to learn the distribution it's had. 16 languages is a record. In less than 1 year, you positioned it very well. It's like a child who leaves home. It's out of my hands, and that's why I made it. I think I told you that I hardly ever give interviews, but it was an honor to be interviewed by you and know your child visiting the world like it is. How are things at home? Before I answer that, I would also like to tell you a little detail. What I see and read in internet after I visit your program, the amount of insults that people hidden behind surely pseudonyms or fake names used to treat you and me. Our mothers come and go in the most vulgar way. You can't imagine, until I just get tired of reading them. But that I'm accustomed to. What I'm not accustomed to is thinking why these people can't discuss. They're not obliged to agree with us. If I say a wall is white, discuss it. It's blue, okay. But the way how these people who hide, I don't know if they're happy, insulting. I don't know if the viewers knew this, but it is completely vulgar, to say the least, for all the words and names they call us, you and me. This means it hurts them. But it would be very nice to have a discussion with arguments. If I said, repeat, that the wall is green, well, I could have made a mistake. And I think that I want to talk about this because I know that most viewers don't know. Well, this is something that is untouched because the people say, I learned 6 war fronts in the times of Cold War. We didn't have internet for civil uses. Those who launch this is because they have something much better, but anonymously, anyone who wants to insult just hides and says whatever they want. And this is a way of showing who your mother was, but that is unstoppable because the frustration of someone who was behind the screen, instead of learning or improving their human nature, they try to destroy what you said because they don't know who I am, they don't have my face, they don't have a way to identify me. I'm a shooter and I have internet in my hands and I say whatever I want. That's cowardness that internet allows. But I am accustomed to that. I don't receive too many insults, but when some people pro-establishment do not want to listen to things. Could you put some example? I'm not talking about insults, but for example, what topic it generates? Especially topics on Colombia. Our last program on Colombia and how the paramilitary mafia developed in Colombia. We talked about the Nicaraguan Sandinist revolution and the U.S. responsibility generated a series of vulgar names. But let's go. I would like them to tell me you made a mistake because of this and that. But I just want to say that because I know that most people who watch these programs don't even imagine what happens in the internet. We're going to talk about what is happening in the continent, the great nation. Well, this is what is interesting of this is that the current times is so historic, for good or bad, I hope it's not for bad, as the movements of independence movements leaving the empire. But now we are trying to leave the Northern Empire, and we're living something similar, but the weapons now are terrible because news in those times arrived by horse. Now it's through internet. Well, yesterday's elections in Venezuela, there's a very special thing. I'm going to talk about what I know. When the European Union said they wouldn't accept the results of Venezuelan elections because they would be a fraud, from what I know, it's the first time that a fact that has not occurred yet is not accepted. I don't know how many days or weeks ago the European Union said they wouldn't accept it. How did they know they would be a fraud? And additionally, why didn't they could have sent observers, as United Nations, European Union, but they didn't. Did they fear? No, they needed to prove they were a fraud, but they had to be here, and everybody was invited. I know that nobody feared those things here, but the system is as perfect as former President Jimmy Carter said. He said it was the best in the world, the safest in the world. So from the moment the European Union says that Venezuelan elections elections would be a fraud and that they wouldn't accept them. That gave me a feeling that we are still their children, as if we were in times of the colony, or we still had feathers. But it's the press also. From those times, the press started repeating, because here in Venezuela, after these events of last year, there's a calm, but abroad, the war, in the Venezuelan war exists abroad. The huge media have started a war that when you come to Venezuela you don't see. For example, the day of elections, Caracas was calmer than ever. It was even boring. Yes, it was completely boring because there was no public entertainment, and everybody was watching the TV or the media, internet, and nothing happened. But for Europe, we were killing ourselves. Exactly. So 1 week ago, I was talking to some journalist friends, and I was proposing them, why don't you write the news that you were going to publish Monday at dawn, because it was very easy to do it. The Venezuelan dictatorship, or dictator Maduro, won again in Venezuela through the usual manipulation of the media. But this morning I noticed something. I think, or I wonder, if the United States, and especially Europe, the European Union, what they want here is to have a conflict here between Venezuelans, where they would take advantage. Any argument to interfere, humanitarian interference. Could somebody answer why the European Union and the United States and a series of countries we're going to talk about later, why didn't they accept the opposition that came to the elections? Why didn't they support economically as they did before? Why didn't they value them in this opposition that accepted democracy and presented to elections? This is a very interesting point that nobody has discussed, saying to very important things that is usually not said. But why didn't they accept it? If I am United States and I want, let's say, if this opposition presented itself in elections and is valid in a democratic system as the Venezuelan system is, if it won, it could have won Maduro, and then we try to revert the system upon the elections. Why didn't they support them? Because the valid ones are the violent opposition that is living and wants Venezuela to go back to U.S. hands. For me, that's a message. And has a duct of dollars to act like that. I think that Mr. Falcon should ask why he wasn't supported. If they truly wanted a democratic change, as the U.S. and the European Union say, why didn't they give him millions for his campaign? Why did they invalidate him? This is tremendous, because Falcon is not unknown. He came to elections against the dictatorship of Maduro. Once again, I ask, why didn't they support him? Do they want to support the violent opposition? I expect everything from the United States, but it's not that the European Union is our saints, but it's strange. Is it a hemispheric master plan by State Department, Pentagon, NATO? Because when we talk about Venezuela, we're talking about oil. And it has the largest reserves in the planet. It's something more than elections, what is being at stake here. When U.S. oil companies were here taking our wealth, nothing was wrong. Yesterday I was asked what will happen in Venezuela. I said the war will continue against Venezuela outside to try to destabilize this in any way. Why? Because of the natural resources, what Venezuela means in the integration, although it has been destroyed. That was advanced by President Chavez, the Latin American integration. That was a coup for the United States with ALBA, Mercosur. And at the speed they didn't expect. That was a coup for the United States because it shaked the House. Many still don't believe that from Mexico downwards, excepting Cuba, it's the backyard of the United States. Nothing moves without the U.S. ambassador agreeing with it. And Chavez arrives, and that changes everything. And that's why I understand why the United States are mad at Venezuela. But this will continue. As I've said before, having as the media as the main supporters, because the war against Venezuela has been focused in the great media, international media. Upon that, politicians speak. But Venezuela has a food problem, but they don't say why about the blockade. That the humanitarian crisis they have enlarged. The media has put in doubt the left itself. I think that we are very few in the left and the Democrats that have no doubt about this process, Bolivarian process, which has its mistakes, because otherwise I wouldn't believe in this process as a Cuban process. Because imagine, I always like to talk about things that are touchable. Building a marriage is difficult for two people to, as a couple, man, women, two men, etc. To build a couple is difficult. Imagine trying to create a new society, a new country. It's very complicated. I wouldn't like to be in President Maduro's shoes. It must be very serious. So, to take all this Venezuelan process and what is happening here and what it is bearing, sometimes I stop to think and see it is completely complex. What they are doing to us in other countries never failed. In the Middle East, it didn't. They just barged in. But I think they... And it's not the same situation. Now that Gaddafi, Hussein are not there, all the progressive leaders were eliminated one by one. Let's not forget that the pro-Israelian lobbying in the United States and the military-industrial apparatus and oil is the most important. So important that when I studied that in the Fletcher School, the only thing that didn't appear on the syllabus was the industrial war weapons and Israeli lobbying. In spite that the conditions are clear outside, what Venezuelans don't believe or don't see, and are left doesn't believe, is that all conditions to invade this country are being prepared outside, because we still cannot believe that this process is different with all its mistakes. So we have a left that does not understand Venezuela. They have to understand it. And I repeat it, and I have great friendships around this. I repeat, the left is being handled by the right wing. The New York Times, El País in Spain, Le Figaro, Le Monde in France. When there's a title, Dictator Maduro. In Venezuela, people are dying of hunger. Venezuelans are getting prepared for a coup. We in the left believe that we have another way of looking at the world. We ask ourselves, is that true? I ask them, why is it a dictatorship? And they can't respond. The country with the largest number of elections in the world, and I think in the history of humanity. So, for me, most people who watch TV every day and watch the news and read the press, I could understand that they have this confusion and that they think what the press says. But there are great leftist, so-called leftist intellectuals that don't want to know about the Bolivarian process. Because it's a dictatorship, because the press says it. What is happening to the intellectual left wing in Latin America or in this hemisphere? If it was only about Venezuela, it wouldn't be so serious. They are failing in all fields. They are turning in the flag or what? Because Ecuador does not represent in the world geostrategy as Venezuela, but what is happening in Ecuador is very serious. Many intellectuals are supporting Lenin Moreno. Supporting Lenin Moreno. And Lenin Moreno, and I'm going to say it publicly because I already said it. Lenin Moreno is one of the best constitutional coups that the CIA has given in the world. It has been an artistic coup. And I congratulate him, so to say. For me, Lenin Moreno was an egg placed by the United States. I'm not going to say the CIA because we always talk about the CIA. Let's call this way. You know about this. You know that they are accustomed to place a web, an egg, and leave it there. And when they need it, the egg breaks and the character appears. I met him. I was at his home, and he seemed a man that was completely, absolutely in agreement with President Correa. He deceived everyone. Well, this is the Lenin that invited me at home. He played the piano. We talked about the magnificent program of the progressive president. In 2 months, he gave the country to the United States. In these words. First, President Correa made the Manta U.S. base leave. Before, they used to build the wages of generals came from the United States. President Correa cut this and repeat this, please. The wages for the promotions were given and decided by the U.S. Embassy. They decided which officials were promoted to generals, who was the Minister of Interior and who was the Minister of Defense. And I'm not saying this. This is in classified papers. This ended with President Correa. With President Correa, they decided what officials were going to be generals and foreign affairs ministers. In the promotion ceremonies, the U.S. ambassador was never invited again. And I think he was expelled. Well, one of the first things he did this year for the promotion of generals, the U.S. ambassador appeared again, FBI, DEA, CIA, when returned. So they are building a place very close to the Colombian border. What will they combat? Of course, drug traffic. What other thing? As always, the pretext that, let's say, do you know that the cocaine production in Colombia increased to 42%? Very strange, with all the millions they say they have invested. The 9 U.S. bases are useless just to threat us. I don't understand that. I think they closed their eyes because the military bases were aimed to that. The Colombia plan was there. They could no longer control cocaine and other herbs. Well, so Lenin Moreno, for me, was a masterwork from Washington. I don't know if it was a State Department or CIA, but it's that. So, in the case of Ecuador, intellectuals are divided. Atilio Borón, they even told me that he was going to be demanded for saying things that were taking place in the administration of Lenin Moreno. And this was said by people who we believe are leftist intellectuals. Intellectuals almost always have this process. Either you stay in the middle, or suddenly, or if you've seen things very clear, you're called radical, and you are banned from appearing on TV, writing in the newspapers. And the Latin American left and intellectuality is like that, and the European is worse. So it's an ironic way of calling, or his name being Lenin. Well, I said, I think that he doesn't like that name. And that's why he turned around, and they're seeking to take President Correa to court. Really found that was very strange. What will he be? Corruption. It's not for corruption, it's not delinquency. Something that exists but doesn't exist, but you're guilty. Somebody told me, I don't know if it's true, that President Correa, he will become an exile before allowing them to put him in jail. But look at what they did to President Lula. He's in jail, nothing has happened. Lula's case was an impressive essay. Nobody thought about it. And he's there, and nothing happens. And the worst is that nothing happens. They took former president to jail for an apartment. Uribe has 10,000 debts. Nothing happens. He's a narco-military, and nothing happens. He has files for drug traffic, and nothing happens. The U.S. identikit of Uribe's personality and administration is irrefutable. He delivered the country, and that's why he is okay, but we know that anytime he wakes up in Miami. So we should make a deeper analysis of what is happening with the left. What I do know is that the right manages the agenda of most left, even communist parties around the world. I can tell you, let's put an example. When President Santos, Nobel Peace Prize, I repeat it once again. I had lunch with Luis Carlos Galán the last time I stepped in Colombian embassy. And he told me, take my card, my direct personal number. This country should be changed. Are you going to go against all that power and all that mafia of drugs and politicians? I'll go against them, and you'll see it. God bless you, I said. The last time I believed in a politician, the first and last. Well, he didn't see it. Back to the intellectuals. If tomorrow the United States say, Santos, we should put another example. If tomorrow the United States say that Santos is corrupt and had been close to drug traffic, and that the Nobel Prize was given by mistake, a world campaign will be made, and then we will all say, yes, Santos was a drug trafficker. He was a bad guy. But since the U.S. has not said it yet, and the media either, there's no problem. He's still useful. But that happens with any country. The United States have power over the information around the world, especially the great leaders around the world. Another example. If tomorrow the Queen of England starts fighting with the United States and says that the United States should be independent from the United States, the United States will come out with her record. I don't know what she's done, but if she has no record, the United States will invent it. Well, this is only an example. I'm exaggerating. And I'm exaggerating to tell you how powers are handled, especially in the media. If Washington said that the Queen of England is bad, tomorrow they will come up with things. And we will all say, oh, we didn't know that the Queen of England was so bad. That's how many of us react. Well, let's go to another topic. Something that surprised me this morning when I read a bulletin of countries that called themselves the morality of the continent by combating the Bolivarian process of Venezuela. This was early morning today. I don't know if they published it last night, but I received it this morning. Or either they had it already made because they knew what would happen in Venezuela. It's around 10 countries. They're not going to meet yesterday to write it, but it calls the attention of these countries that are saying that Venezuelan elections were not transparent, that votes were robbed, purchased. Everything we knew was going to be said. But besides this, they say that we must be careful because there will be a humanitarian crisis that is affecting all the region, because hungry Venezuelans are arriving. When I read this, I imagine Venezuelans crossing the border in Brazil, giving the passport with the last breath. They present it in such a pathetic way that that's the image I have. But now they touch another point in that bulletin. They say that Venezuela is producing diseases that could affect the neighbor countries. Tuberculosis and another one I don't remember. Let's see the countries that signed this bulletin this morning. Perhaps you know it more. It's about 2 or 3 pages. I met, it's not them who put the agenda. We're not going to talk about Canada signing it, but there's Argentina. What authority does Argentina, Macri, have to talk about Venezuela? Brazil, what authority does it have? When the president came out of a coup. But Macri has a situation. Kirchner placed the middle class in its place again, and now the middle class is going down again. And many of in Argentina, once again, they are one step from hunger. Now, Colombia. We have repeated it so many times, and that's why they're calling me anti-patriotic, and somebody proposed nationality would be taken away from me. Here we have around 6 million Colombians who vote with their feet because they go to the border, they cross and stay here. Why? Because they don't have money to take a plane.
6 millones de colombianos le están dando una bofetada en la cara a este personaje tristemente célebre.
They decided that whatever he says on Venezuela, they want to live here because they have cost-free education for their children, cost-free health and medications, and nobody is blackmailing you and disappearing you. That's a common place where why do they elect to come here if that pro-man is right? What they said is that they came when Venezuela was had a good economy, but they still are crossing, and now Colombians remain here. And this is one of the most porous borders in the world because they cross both sides. Well, let's continue. Colombia has no humanitarian crisis or migration of Colombians. In such a small country as Ecuador, there's 500,000, Panama 200,000. I think all Central America has 500,000. United States, there are 2 million. I think the people who are listening should take note. Europe has 500,000, and we don't have migration and humanitarian crisis. How many Mexicans live in the United States? We lost the count. 20 million is a conservative figure. And they also talk of possible violence in Venezuela. What about Mexico? They have killed 80 regional candidates to elections. Not any citizen, candidates with their campaigns. And not 2 or 3. 80.
80, hay que verle la cara, ¿no? Que maten 80 candidatos
80 political candidates killed and nothing happens?
Y ellos opinan sobre Venezuela.
And they talk about Venezuela.
Y los 61 alumnos de
What about 61 students of Justinam?
Asesinados.
Murdered students, burnt.
Carbonizados y después lanzados al río.
And then?
Se sabe todo. E incluso con qué los quemaron y cómo, ¿no? Una pirámide de
thrown in the river. They know how they were burnt.
Cauchos
in a pyramid of tires.
Una pizza. Arriba otra, una
with gasoline. It's so similar to the Colombians. This is a paramilitary technique. You know what? When that happened, when they started to do this in Mexico, Colombian paramilitary techniques, since a man whose name I will say later was advisor for the anti-terrorism police in Mexico. After 1 year of staying there, and he left because of the pressure, and people started noticing what he had gone to Mexico for. 1 year later, we started seeing these actions by paramilitary groups related to drug trafficking. Who is this man who was advisor? General Naranjo, current Vice President of Colombia. It's an irony because I have lots of information about that. I wrote an article precisely by the students you just talked about. Unfortunately, it's not the only case. There are many cases, but it was so dramatic that they filled the media. But crimes like these are many, with the same Colombian paramilitary technique, drug, narco, paramilitary technique, because this is the police and the army, assisted by Colombian drug traffickers. He's the Vice President of Colombia. Let's continue. Honduras. What lesson will Honduras give Venezuela? Electorally, when they have huge frauds, poverty, one of the poorest countries in the world, Education,
Fútbol,
health,
tal vez.
perhaps soccer? I don't know about that.
Costa Rica, bueno.
Costa Rica?
Bueno, Costa Rica es la niña bonita,
Costa
¿no?
Rica
Sí, porque ha
is
servido
Pero barre bajo la alfombra también cuando le conviene.
Guatemala.
Guatemala.
Guatemala acabó con casi
Guatemala
todos sus
finished with
indígenas
almost
en un
all
uno de
its
los genocidios,
indigenous
después de la colonia,
people
los genocidios
with one of the
contemporáneos más
largest
grandes que ha existido.
contemporary genocides
La
after the
corrupción
colony.
es horrible.
Corruption is terrible.
La violencia es horrible.
Violence is
Pero le
terrible.
están diciendo a Venezuela,
But they're telling
están diciendo
Venezuela
que aquí no hay democracia, que
that
aquí es un país
here
violento, que hay
there's
crimen
no
humanitario.
democracy, that's a
Sigo.
violent country. I continue.
Panamá,
Panama,
Paraguay,
Paraguay,
Perú
Peru,
y bueno, Santa Lucía.
and
Estos países
Andalusia.
son los que le están diciendo que hay
These
que cambiar
countries
este
are
sistema porque
telling us
va a
that
traer
this
problemas
system must be changed
regionales.
because it will
Desde la
bring
crisis humanitaria, porque muchos
regional
venezolanos también-
problems.
Es cierto, se han ido
Humanitarian
muchos venezolanos,
crisis.
es cierto.
Yes, many
Claro que
Venezuelans
sí.
have fled,
Pero nunca
Nadie
explican
está
por qué.
obligado a
but they,
creer en este
nobody is
proceso que
obliged to believe in
resultó
this
tan
process
criticado,
that
tan
was so
agredido y tan doloroso.
criticized.
No, y es cierto que hay problemas,
And
hay
it's
problemas
true,
sociales,
there are
económicos graves, pero
economic
nadie
and
explica por qué.
social problems,
explica
but
por
nobody
qué.
explains
Pero
why.
mira,
Yo no creo que el presidente
I
Maduro
don't
que
think
tiene
that
que le da los
President
deseos de poner
Maduro
a
wants
soportar necesidades a los venezolanos, eso no lo creo.
Venezuelans
No lo creo.
people to suffer.
Pero,
I don't
pero
believe
la
that.
gente tiene que
And the people
rebuscarse
have to
para comer y para ayudar a su familia.
seek
eso es innato.
how to
Pero
put
son algunos
food on their
miles.
table. Yes,
Son algunos
but
miles.
there are some
No
thousands
son
of
7,
those.
8 millones como
It's
los que en
not
Colombia.
7, 8 million like we have in
proporción es
Colombia. The proportion
Así de
is
grande y los brazos me dan
huge.
otra vuelta. Es un cinismo y un descaro
es
tremendo.
como si dijéramos
What is
casi 3
huge is
veces
the
Uruguay.
cynism. It's almost 3 times
Sí,
Uruguay.
creo que son como 8. Pues aquí hay 6. Y además
Well,
si uno
here we
junta
have
los-
6,
une
and
los
we
otros
feed
millones y los cientos
sum
que hay.
up the other millions
como
and
8
hundreds. I
millones.
think
Yo vi
it's around 8
Panamá
million.
antes de la invasión y
I
logré
saw
salir a
Panama
tiempo. Estuve
before
en
the
el comando
invasion
y
and
estuve con
managed
el
to
general.
leave on time. I was in the
Y
command with
estaba
the
rodeado de
general.
unas casitas que
And I
aparecían
was
en las
surrounded
postales
with
que yo
some
recordaba hasta de
houses
niño, del tesoro
that
de la
came out
juventud,
in the
aquella colección
postcards,
pedagógica.
which I remember from my
Casitas de madera, una
childhood.
junto a otra, que era la
Wooden
tradicional vieja
houses that
Panamá, que había que
the
mantenerla porque era el
traditional
orgullo,
old
era la
Panama
postalita
that
de la vieja
was
Panamá,
pride.
comparándola con la otra. Y el comando, que era
And
un
the command
tremendo
that
edificio
was a
con
huge
escalinatas de
building
mármol y
with
todo. Yo
marble
entrevisté al
stairs.
general y estaba
I
todavía no
interviewed
estaba
the
CNN,
general.
gracias a Dios para ello en ese
CNN
momento.
was not there yet.
Y estaba ABC, NBC,
ABC,
CBS,
NBC, CDS,
Washington
Washington
Post.
Post,
Era
New
evidente
York
que venía la
Times.
intervención gringa y el hombre
The
aguantando ahí.
U.S.
Y
intervention
me
was
acuerdo que le dicen, no, usted
evident.
no lo voy a responder.
And I
A él le
remember
voy a responder.
he
Aguante,
said,
porque él no
I
es
will
del
answer
club de la
Walter,
desinformación
not to
como
you,
ustedes.
because he is
Y
not
bla,
from
bla,
the
bla,
club
bla. Y
of
bueno, general,
disinformation.
estoy muy agradecido, tengo que
I
tomar el
thanked
próximo
him.
avión. Me vengo de
I
una
told
vez.
him I had to take the
Y luego
next
cuando
plane.
vuelvo a pasar,
And then when
lo
I
que era el
went
comando, aquel
again,
edificio, lo que
the
era aquel barrio
command,
histórico, lleno
that
de casitas de
historic
madera,
neighborhood full
tierra
of wooden
arrasada.
houses
Nunca vi
were
doble
destroyed.
tierra arrasada como ahí.
I never
No
saw
quedaba
destruction
nada,
like
nada.
there. There
Solo
was
tierra
nothing left,
limpiecita y
only
apisonada.
earth.
Y después los gringos se dieron lujos como este,
And
¿no?
then
En plena
the
toma de
US,
Panamá, que no era ni para nada una capacidad de resistencia, hubo un tanquista
when
que
they
vio un
took over
Volkswagen
Panama
delante de
that
él
had no
y le dio la
resistance,
gana de pasarle por encima
there
porque era
was-
divertido.
Pasaron sobre los cadáveres.
En el
los
Volkswagen
they
tanques.
passed
había
over a
papá, mamá y tres
Volkswagen
niños.
with father, mother, and 3
Si
children.
quieres contamos un poquitico lo que fue
If
la
you
invasión a
want,
Panamá.
we can tell
Para
how
que
the
la
invasion
gente-
to
para que
Panama
los
was.
venezolanos
No
crean
For
tiene
the
idea de lo que es una
Venezuelans.
invasión gringa, porque además le meten
Here they don't have an
hasta
idea of a
ciertos
U.S.
aceleradores, ¿no?
invasion
en la
because
sangre.
they even.
Mira, vamos, primero que todo.
Let's talk first
Panamá
about
se invadió
the fact that
bajo el
Panama was
pretexto
invaded
de
under the
sacar a
pretext
Noriega,
of
al
taking out
dictador
Noriega.
Sí, porque era el amigo.
Yes, because he
Cuando se volvió
was his
nacionalista,
friend.
volvió
When he
peligroso.
became
volvió peligroso.
nationalistic, he became
Nos quedan 10
dangerous.
minutos, todo tuyo.
O sea, fue cuando Noriega le dio un
It
ataque
was
nacionalismo.
Noriega
Pero
had
había
a
sido un hombre de la
nationalistic
CIA.
attack, but
Absolutely.
Noriega was a
Noriega
CIA man.
contrabandeó con la CIA cocaína.
Si no,
He,
Noriega lo liberó, claro.
Pero el día que se puso a
Sold
pelear y
cocaine with
amenazó a Bush,
CIA,
papá
but the
Bush,
day he
había
started
sido jefe de la
threatening
CIA, había sido
Bush,
patrón de él,
because
le
the
mandó.
CIA
Pero
had,
dime una
had,
cosa,
had
Walter,
been
¿no era
his
más barato
boss.
hacerlos sacar?
But wasn't
Lo
it
querían
cheaper
detener
if they want to
por dictador, por
arrest
asesino,
him
por
for
todo lo que
dictator,
quieran, por
murder,
traficante.
drug trafficker, why didn't they invite him to Washington and arrest him there? No, they sent a huge amount of aircraft and they destroyed Panama. They disembarked as if it were a huge country. To conclude this, I will tell you something very important that happened in the Panamanian invasion, besides a huge amount of death. People in Panama, they practiced the weapons aimed to Iraq, especially the Phantom. This amount of weapons with which they destroyed Panama, they erased it. Literally, when I passed, I really was... They shot. I made an investigation. They shot people with rays like fiction movies, and only ashes remained there. That was the Panamanian invasion, because Noriega would have been taken at any time by a military marine command, as with Gaddafi. But the last weapon, weapon was practiced there, and then they invaded Iraq and tested. They tested all the weapons used in Iraq. I visited Saddam Hussein's Iraq from the north to south. And Gaddafi's Libya, those countries had high levels of education, health, scholarships for everybody to increase the technological levels, and they also played chess with the great powers when they said here, human crimes. I knew Saddam Hussein's Libya. Quality of life was impressive. Afghanistan, it was a beautiful country. I didn't visit it, but I've seen pictures. They invaded Afghanistan with the pretext of taking out the Soviets there. But besides this, NATO re-invaded them with the pretext of freeing women, with the pretext of stopping heroin traffic, with the pretext of terrorist groups. Now, Afghanistan, a fully invaded, NATO-invaded country, is the main exporter of heroin in the world. Can you explain how they do that? Or who closes their eyes? Or who takes advantage of that? And Colombia, with all its U.S. bases in electronics, why can't it stop the huge cocaine duct to the United States? I'm saying that cocaine production increased 42% in an invaded country, because Colombia is invaded by the U.S. I don't understand. Something should happen. I don't know how they do it.
Cynism.
The world's main cocaine producer, Colombia, allied to the main consumer in the world, the United States. They are historically good friends after the Second World War, and I think Korea as well. It was Colombian Korea under the command of the United States. And since then, the Colombian military command started having experience with the Korean War. All soldiers who were in Korea came to combat what were the FARC, and everybody forgets this. And history turns again. And what did Colombia lose in Korea? Nothing, but the United States gave it such an amount of weapons, and it was a country with which the U.S. signed military agreements in the United States. And before the Panama School, there was a military school in Colombia, Tolemaida, near Bogota. We have said the country that wrote to take Cuba out of OS was Colombia, and where all the parameters, ideological parameters of the Cold War were written, it was in Colombia.
Y podemos seguir hablando
And we can continue
de esto,
talking about this and
Pero nos
that.
quedan 3 minutos.
But we have 3 minutes,
Los dejo para que tú cierres.
and I leave it for you to close.
Este mundo me tiene preocupado.
This world has me concerned. Welcome to the club.
Yo creo que desde siempre me
I
ha tenido
think that
preocupado,
I've been always
pero yo que
concerned,
vivo en
but
Europa,
I live in
veo
Europe,
la manera como
and I
están
see the
atacando
way
Medio
how
Oriente,
they
como
are
están atacando
attacking the
otros
Middle
países.
East,
¿Estás de acuerdo
Middle
que hay
East
un
and
plan
any
para cambiarle
country?
todo el mapa geopolítico
There's a
al Medio Oriente?
change.
Porque yo he dicho
There's a
acá,
plan
ya
to change
arrancó,
the Middle East
ya arrancó.
geopolitical map.
Y yo
Well,
creo que también está
already
detrás de
started,
Turquía ahora.
and I think they are
Turquía, que era el ángulo obediente y necesario
looking
de la
at
OTAN,
Turkey now.
se empezó a
Sí,
meter
Turkey,
está
a
a
member of
frecuencia con
NATO.
turbulencia.
Y está diciéndole no en algunas cosas a la OTAN, y eso es tremendamente peligroso.
Turkey is
estoy
saying
defendiendo
no
ni en
to
contra del presidente. Estoy
NATO,
hablando de lo que la
and that is
geoestrategia.
dangerous. I'm not defending its president, but I'm just talking about geostrategic.
El Medio Oriente se lo
The
cambiaron.
Middle East was changed,
¿Y
and
qué
now
pasa con
it's
Israel
dust.
ahora?
What happens with Israel now?
No, lo que,
Envalentonado, guapo, apoyado, que el Jerez Israel que se va a tragar
ya para
a
terminar, te hago
cuántos
una,
países.
ya
To
para terminar, te
conclude,
hago una pregunta,
I have a
Walter. ¿Por qué
question,
están
Walter.
atacando a
Why
Irán
are
porque
they
quiere producir
attacking
una bomba
Iraq?
atómica y por qué no
Because they
han
want to
atacado
produce
a
an
Israel,
atomic
que
bomb,
tiene
and
80?
why didn't attack Israel that has 80?
Bueno, yo
A
digo,
lot
no,
more,
sí,
so according to other sources.
No tenían simuladores
First, they didn't have
de computadoras.
computer simulators, so they had to
Hubo alguna
make
explosión al sur
tests.
de Sudáfrica y además
There was an
Sudáfrica ponía
explosion in
uranio
South
a la
Africa.
tecnología.
South Africa had
Yo dije eso con
uranium
todos los
and
detalles y lo
Israel
borraron de las
technology.
redes,
I
ese
said
programa. Lo voy a
this,
volver a
and they
explicar.
just
Sí,
erased
pero
the
es una
program
buena
from the
pregunta.
network.
El mal
But
es
it's a
Irán,
good
porque
question,
quiere
because
producir
the
una
bad
bomba.
guy is
Pero
Iran,
Además, los
that
israelíes,
wants to
no,
produce
los
one bomb.
sudafricanos
And
blancos no dejaban entrar a los
besides,
judíos, ni
white
siquiera a su
South
propio
African
country, claro.
didn't allow
Pero ellos se la calaban
Jews to
con tal de
enter
poder
their
desarrollar
country.
aquello y tener la posibilidad, ¿no? El
Y
uranio.
ahora otra pregunta, ya para
Another
terminar.
question to conclude.
¿Cómo así que Estados Unidos permitió que
Why
Corea
did the
del
United
Sur
States
dialogara
allow
con Corea
South
del Norte?
Korea discuss with North Korea?
Particular, ¿no? Porque es que los coreanos del norte sí dijeron a nosotros no los van a...
Strange, right? Because the North Koreans said,
Estados
we are
Unidos
not
se
going
dio
to play with
cuenta
us,
que
and the
Corea del
United
Norte
States
estaba hablando muy
saw
seriamente.
that North Korea
La
was talking
mayor
very
retirada de las
seriously.
fuerzas triunfantes de la Segunda Guerra de Estados Unidos.
The main withdrawal
fue
of
más
the
vergonzosa que en Corea.
victory
38 fue tablas.
forces
Eso
after
fue
the Second World
nada
War
de
was
paz. Es
in
un
North Korea.
armisticio. Y viven con el
And
dedo
they
indicativo.
don't have a peace treaty there, they have
Es
an
una jugada
armistice.
interesante, ¿no? Porque esa
And this is
situación
an
estancada,
interesting
vergonzosa.
move because it's a
¿Tú sabes que para
shameful
retirarse
situation.
Estados Unidos de Corea del Sur tienen que retirar casi 100 bases?
You know
100
that
bases nada más.
the United States has to withdraw
No sé si
almost
era más,
100 bases
No,
from
no
South
pueden
Korea.
volarlas en pedazos.
They can't
Yo no sé
destroy
cómo la van a
them.
ver, pero no, tampoco
I
creo
don't
que
know
van a
how they're going to do it,
pueden.
Pero hay muchos interrogantes en
but
la
there are many
geoestrategia del
questions
mundo.
in the
No nos
world's
aburrimos nunca, ¿no?
geostrategic. We're never are bored.
No, nos da mucho tema para hablar.
No, we
Desgraciadamente.
have lots of topics.
Así es. Bueno,
Unfortunately.
yo te invito a cuando pases por acá.
Well,
y-
whenever you
invítanos,
come
tío,
here,
a que cuando pases por acá
I
sigamos dialogando, porque esto no es una
would like to
cuestión
have
de
you
tema
here
de
because this
diletantes,
is
esto es algo
not
que nos duele, visceralmente nos duele.
something that
Y lo
we
compartimos,
enjoy.
esa
It
cosa.
hurts, and we're
Un
concerned
pensamiento para
about this.
cerrar.
A
Que
thought
invito
to
a las
close.
personas que nos
I
insultan
invite the people
por
who
internet,
insult us on internet
aporten,
to contribute
aporten, inteligentemente aporten. Eso nos sirve a
intelligently.
todos.
That is useful to all.
Intelectualmente, humanamente, moralmente.
Intellectually, morally, humanly.
Separen los insultos, que eso no sirve para
Stop
nada.
insults.
La
That's
cobardía ahora
useless.
está en un teclado.
Cowardice is
No me ven, no saben
on the
quién soy,
board.
no tienen
Nobody
mi grupo
sees
sanguíneo,
me.
entonces
They don't
puedo
have my
disparar
blood
por
count.
envidia, por
They can
celos.
talk.
Pero hablando de todo, ya con eso ya.
But
Pero qué particular que la policía no
I'll
se
finish
mete con
with
esta
this.
gente.
The police
Pero si esa misma gente estuviera amenazando al
says
presidente
nothing,
Trudeau, hablando al
but,
presidente Macri o al presidente
if these
Macron,
people
le
talk
caería a
against
las 3
President
horas
Macri,
tenían allanada la casa o el computador donde escribiría.
3 hours
Hay
later
como
they would
perfectamente
be
hay
at
como
the homes.
identificarlo.
Claro.
Por
They
eso
are
es que liberaron
identifiable,
Internet.
and that's why they
Y
freed
yo tengo
internet.
gente que sabe hacer
And
eso.
now I have people
Pero
who
no pierdo
knows how to
tiempo en
do it,
eso,
but that
porque
I don't lose
estamos
time
en
in
cosas
that
más
because
Claro,
we have
Se
more
nos acabó
important
el
things to
tiempo,
do.
compañeros. Ha sido un
Our
gustazo.
time is
Muchas
over.
gracias,
It's been a
Walter.
pleasure.
Y te conmino a que
And
cuando pases otra vez por
I
acá,
urge you,
vengas
whenever you
a
come
darnos el
here,
placer de poder
come and give us
Gracias
the
a ti y a todo tu
pleasure to
fascinacional equipo
listen
de
to you.
trabajo.
Thank you and all
Camarógrafos,
your
la gente que
fans
te
and all the team you have,
El personal
the
de estudio
cameramen
muy
and all the
noble.
people who
En el área de
collaborate with
producción
you.
ya no
We have
tenemos
great people.
El famoso equipo es este servidor y la doctora Sanoja. Eso nadie lo cree, pero bueno, ahí van los 10 premios nacionales de periodismo.
Well, we have
Muchas gracias por
3
permitirnos
journalist
estar allí con
awards.
ustedes.
Thank you very much for allowing
Y
us to be with
cuando
you.
nuestra querida
And
contaminada
when our
y única
dear,
haya dado otra
contaminated,
vuelta
and
sobre su
only
imaginario,
spacecraft turns around, we hope to be with you again to tell you about events in Pleno Desarrollo. We have enjoyed the presence of this very important guest, and he will be back to Dossier. This was Walter Martinez, producer and conductor of Dossier.